From Blacksburg, Virginia, we welcome you to ACC Basketball, presented by your local Ford dealer. Castle Coliseum, the site for the Virginia Tech Hokies, coming off a huge win over Clemson. They're 5-1, taking on the 1-5 Coppin State Eagles out of the MEAC. Hi, everybody. Evan Lepler alongside Dan Bonner. It's so great to have you with us. And, Dan, we're a week away from Christmas just about, and there's only one team in this conference, the ACC, that has multiple wins over ranked teams, and it's not Duke or Carolina or Florida State or Virginia. It's the Hokies.
Well, you mentioned the Hokies, that 5-1 start, and you have to consider that a surprise because as we take a look at the ACC's preseason media poll, the Hokies were picked number 11. So to start the way they have, particularly with 2 wins over ranked teams, they have to be the surprise of the ACC. You see number 3 Villanova early in the year. Clemson, you mentioned, they rose to as high as 15th in the poll. But remember, they started well last year and finished poorly. But last year they relied totally on the three-point basket. They're not in that situation this year, but don't forget, the three-pointer is going to be an extremely important weapon for them. It was in their big win over Villanova. I think it will be as we go through the season.
And yet, since the Nova game, they've only shot about 25% from 3, and yet here they are at 5-1, coming off the big win over Clemson. They try to keep the momentum rolling today. Mike Young's team getting to the free throw line a whole lot more with Keve Aluma and the interior presence that the Hokies have added. Coppin State in town, 4th ever meeting. Eagles-Hokies tip-off next.
Right now in your mouth stuffers. Happy holidays to your mouth. Not sorry. Reese's.
Starting lineups presented by your local Toyota dealers. The Coppin State Eagles have a brotherly duo, Anthony and Nenda Tark, a senior and a freshman who have been dynamic at times this year, particularly in the Eagles' lone win over UNC Greensboro. Strong program down in Greensboro under Wes Miller. For the Hokies, no changes with Beatty, Aline, Radford, Aluma, and Mutz. Again, starting lineups presented by your local Toyota dealers. A year ago, Virginia Tech had just a couple scholarship guys taller than 6'7". This year, they are much bigger. They've gotten to the free throw line a whole bunch more, and a big part of it is number 22's jumping center, and Keve Aluma wins the tip. We are underway as the homestand continues in the month of December. Dan Bonner, Virginia Tech doesn't have a road game this entire month.
And I think that given the circumstances we're in, it's a very good idea not to be traveling around.
Capacity at Castle today limited to about 250 fans.
And the Coppin State Eagles play a little bit of a matchup style defense.
Offensive rebound for Aluma, and he's bumped on the boards by Demontis Sakikis, one of the 2 Europeans in Coppin State starting 5 today for Coach Juan Dixon.
Now, this is a Coppin State team that starts. That's a big lineup out there. They're every bit as tall as Virginia Tech, but they're not necessarily a great rebounding team.
Radford's 3 over the backboard, and I beg your pardon, Aline's 3 off the mark, and Mike Young's team 0 for 2 from deep on that first possession.
The zone defense, the matchup defense by Coppin State had Virginia Tech standing around a little bit on that opening possession. They need to get better ball movement, and you mentioned they're doing much better getting the ball inside. They need to do that. Hokies in the man-to-man.
Coppin State, a team that shoots a lot of threes, but that's Kobe Thomas going inside. The tip won't go. And another chance on this possession.
That's an over and back.
Yes, it is.
Now, Keenan Sarvan, just sometimes when a 6'10" guy gets the ball and he's near and he's not inside, although he's a European-style big guy, but he sort of panicked with that. It's like the ball was heated to 5,000 degrees. He couldn't get out of his hands fast enough.
Keenan Sarvan from the Netherlands. Demontis Sakikis is from Lithuania. Inside Aluma. And by the Coppin State big man Sarvan, and the Hokies come up empty.
Well, you won't see Aluma miss one like that very often.
Wavisa Beatty comes up with a steal. Nice little dish back, and Beatty lays it in.
I mean, that was really interesting looking because I thought that was a tough pass by Beatty to get through to Mutz in the first place. A really good return pass.
Hokies a 6-point winner over Clemson on Tuesday. Banking at home, Anthony Tark. Now, this is a guy who can drop 30 on you if you're not careful. He did that to the UNC Greensboro Spartans a couple weeks ago.
Well, he's big, 6'6", 220 pounds.
Had quite a journey.
Well, his first team All-A-Sun back in 19.
Yep. New Jersey Institute of Technology, and then made his way to UTEP. Let's get to our 4 keys of the game. What you got, Dan Bonner?
Now, Juan Dixon's guys, they like to launch the ball, but they need makers, not just shooters today. 50% of their field goal attempts are from beyond the three-point arc. They don't shoot a very high percentage. For the Virginia Tech Hokies, they got to take whatever they can get, pound it inside, and give nothing back. You don't want to turn it over against Coppin State and let them get up and go.
A lean to the bucket. 4-2 Virginia Tech. Dan, I once told the late great Skip Prosser that I could shoot a little bit. He said, "Can you make?" I need guys who can make, not guys who can shoot. Off the back rim, Kobe Thomas.
Now that is not an unusual offensive set there for Coppin State. They will get the ball and they will launch it.
Here's Aluma, the Wofford transfer. And his entry pass stolen away by the veteran Tarp. Tarp to transfer from NJIT and UTEP, kicks it, and the deep 3 rims out for Keenan Sarvan.
Now Sarvan 6'10", 225, but 2/3 of his field goal attempts so far this year from three-point range.
And yet he's only made 3 of 24 outside.
They shoot a lot, but they don't make a lot. That's been one of the problems for this particular Coppin State team. If they could ever get the ball to fall, they're very effective. They're a really good defensive team. They force a lot of turnovers.
Sarvan, nice behind-the-back dish. The extra pass to the corner, and the 3 is down for Kyle Cardacci.
And that just shows you how much ball movement. You get the defense committed, and then you pass the ball around, you get a wide-open shot. As I say, that's not the normal plan for the Coppin State Eagles.
Beatty decides to launch. Outside shot not falling early. Hokies are 0 for 4.
I think the ball's got to go in before it goes back out. And Beatty is not one of the better three-point shooters.
You mean going into the post, not going into the bucket? Because the ball needs to go in the bucket, too.
No, I think inside out is the way to approach that.
Sarvan, that's lefty bounce pass, and Tark hanging in the air, can't get it to go, and the loose ball will go to the Hokies. We'll get ourselves an early timeout with 15:37 to go. Coppin State with the early 1-point lead.
Your senses. You cannot keep this up. Pain says you can't. Advil says you can.
Both teams are 2 of 8 from the field in the early going, and our game note is brought to you by your local Chevy dealers. Georgia drives Chevy. You're looking at the 3-point attempts for Coppin State this year. They are not bashful, Dan.
No, they certainly are not. They like to let it go. As we said, you know, they're number 9 in the NCAA in 3-point attempts, and 50% of their shot attempts come from 3.
And there's Juan Dixon, the former Maryland superstar, 2002 national champ, and still the all-time leading scorer in Terrapins history, ahead of Grievous Vasquez, who's number 2, and Len Bias, who's number 3. A lot of great players play ball at College Park. Hunter Couture in the game for Virginia Tech. Sharpshooter coming off 11 points on Tuesday against the Tigers. Hokies shot 31 free throws against Clemson in the 66-60 win. Virginia Tech's ACC opener. Justin Butts kind of barreling to the basket. Sarvan goes down hard. He was like a bull stampeding to the goal here.
Well, he can put it down and drive pretty well, and that was, oh boy, there's a lot of contact there. Looks like they hit hips.
By rule, they can only call one foul on the play. But that was vicious.
There was contact there, and Sarvan was not stopped. He wasn't in position. He ran into him like he was a defensive lineman trying to tackle a running back.
Good ball movement for Virginia Tech. 5 minutes gone in the first half. And traveling violation is the call.
Now, one of the things that the Hokies do not want to do, we mentioned this, they do not want to turn the ball over against Coppin State. Again, this is a very good defensive team. They play a physical style that make it difficult for you to reverse the ball.
Anthony Tark had it swatted, foul called. And Dan, I got to ask you, Virginia Tech coming off the win over Clemson on Tuesday. You're grateful to play any game during this COVID era. Just getting the tip-off is a victory. But I can't imagine the Hokie locker room felt the exact same before today's game as it did before the ACC opener against the top 25 Tigers team coming off the beatdown that they had against Penn State.
Evan, I think that's a very good assessment, but if you're going to be a really good team, you can't rely simply on your emotions in every game. There has to be games where you go out and just in workmanlike fashion take care of business. And so this is a challenge for this Virginia Tech team. Can they do that in this situation? And obviously in this pandemic era, you don't have a home crowd to get you going.
Missing a couple at the line.
So the Eagles, they only shoot about 60% as a team from the free throw line.
Justin McCain, Jalen Cone, who Mike Young is really hopeful to get going offensively. Sharpshooter from just outside of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And it's a legal screen called on Keenan Sarvan, and that is the second personal on the big man from the Netherlands. It's 2 on Sarvan, 2 on Sikika, so if you're from Europe, you've got a couple of fouls so far in this game.
And that really puts some pressure now on the inside defense for the Eagles because they've suddenly gotten much smaller. That's Isaiah Gross coming into the game, and he is going to try to defend inside against the Eagles. So suddenly a size advantage in there.
Hokies have not scored about 3.5 minutes. Cone hits the cutting Mutz. It won't stay down, but more free throws are coming for Virginia Tech.
But that's exactly the kind of thing Virginia Tech wants to try to do. Drive the ball, force the defense to come, and then find an open man. Nice ball movement that time. Nice player movement that time by the Hokies.
Tell you, it's been cool to see this guy, Justin Mutz, develop. Saw him as a freshman at High Point University. Obviously went to Delaware where he had a couple good years and graduated from the University of Delaware, now working on his master's, and he's big, he's strong, can impact the game a number of ways.
He's a very good defender, and he's very aggressive, and I think you saw that driving the ball to the basket, but then also with an aggressive cut to the basket. He's not a great shooter.
Mike Young has had success with guys who aren't necessarily great shooters. Look at what Tyrese Radford has done first year plus.
Radford picked up that foul. He is a very aggressive defender.
And it's number 2 on Tyrese.
And that hurts the Hokies because Radford may be the one guy that they absolutely have to have.
That's interesting that you would give that nod to Radford. I'm not sure you're wrong. He does impact the game.
Well, he can guard bigger guys, and he plays with such energy and enthusiasm. This is a tough matchup right here. Tark really likes to take the ball and drive it. Obviously, he'll shoot it too.
Aline controls the rebound off the miss from Anthony Tark. It's Cone, Mutz, Aline, Aluma, and Couture for Virginia Tech. Leading by a point. Couture, nice pass to Aluma.
The key to that was the ball movement, Evan. You keep the ball moving. Early in the game, the Hokies standing around a little bit, settling for that outside jump shot. But that time, nice ball movement, getting the ball inside to Aluma.
And Aluma, that's his third field goal attempt. He only had 4 field goal attempts against Clemson. Oh, tough take there. Pretty good defense from Mutz going straight up. But a strong finish to bring Coppin State within 1. Close, getting that one to go. And a steal and opportunity in transition for Tark. And the foul's on Hunter Couture.
Now that's exactly the kind of turnover, Evan, that Virginia Tech has to avoid. That kind of turnover allows Coppin State to get out and run, and Coppin State, they don't shoot the ball really well from the perimeter. But when you let them have transition opportunities, you're just asking for trouble.
Coppin State is a program that's been battling uphill in the MEAC. However, last year was a huge step in the right direction for Juan Dixon. His 3rd year, now a 4th-year head coach.
Typically teams in the MEAC, you can't judge them based on their overall record because they're going out, they're playing bigger schools, they're playing the guarantee games so that they can help fund their athletic department. They lose most of those games. You have to judge these teams by their performance within the conference, within the MEAC. And you mentioned they were 7-9 last year, so they are making some strides.
And last year, they did win multiple non-conference games, and that was the first year they had done that since 13-14. And they got a win over UNCG earlier this season. And they get a 1-point lead at Virginia Tech as Jalen Cone fires. Comes up short, rebound Thomas.
They want to get out and go.
Good hustle from the Hokies, and Aluma comes up with a pick. Keve to the bucket, no. Gets it back, gets hit by his own teammate, perseveres and puts it in.
Now the most amazing thing about that is he maintained his pivot foot after Cone ran into him. I don't know how he kept his balance. That's great hands and great feet.
If it was anyone other than Cone that had fallen into him, he may not have been able to keep that pivot. But Jalen, 5'10", 165. Rebound for Aline.
Boy, they're not shy, are they?
They are not. Hokies still have not connected from deep. They're 0 for 6. Aluma trying to change that, and he does. That's 7 points for Keve Aluma.
It's very interesting talking to Mike Young and he explaining to us that Aluma is a guy he knew would be a rebounder, he knew would be a defender, but Aluma showed some scoring prowess that he was not expecting.
Pestering defense from Couture on Cardesi. Gross keeps it alive with 7 to shoot. Park, double. And that's going to be a shot clock violation. Hokie bench erupts like they just won the championship. Great defensive hustle to get the stop. And the Hokies have their largest lead yet, 13-9.
To eat something, and then they'll be a little less crunchy.
Yeah. Sonic Fritos Chili Cheese Junior Wrap.
Someone woke up on the wrong side of the crunch this morning.
Keve Aluma averaged 7 points a game as a sophomore at Wofford a couple years ago. And as you said, Dan, Mike Young wasn't expecting a ton of offense from him, but he acknowledges now, look, he's going to be a double-figure scorer from us. He's developed into that.
Well, he's got very good balance, as you can see right there, recovering from getting hit by Cone, maintaining that balance. He can be a solid three-point shooter. He's a below-the-rim kind of guy, but he's got very good hands, has nice moves inside. He's very smart, very crafty in there.
He is our hardy star to watch, averaging north of 15 a ball game so far this year. Double figures in 5 of the first 6 games. His low was 8 against Penn State. And he scored 13 against Clemson, despite the fact that he was just 2 for 4 from the field. He drew 8 fouls in that game against the Tigers and got to the free throw line a dozen times.
Well, nobody says, you know, that it only counts 1 point from the free throw line, but you shoot 12 of them, you're able to score 12 points.
Career high as a Terrier was just 14, but goodness, he has developed nicely. He's on the bench right now. David Gasson into the game for the first time.
Sarvan back in despite his foul.
Keep an eye on that. Dangerous cross-court pass does find Couture. Deflected the cone. Shot clock down to 3. And Jalen realizes it. On the glass. Much keeps it alive. And here's a lead for 3.
How many times do you see it? You miss a shot, you get the offensive rebound, the defenders are all packed around the basket trying to get a defensive rebound, you get an open 3.
Aline has been hot from beyond the arc the last couple of games after a slow start to the season for Virginia Tech. Midway through the first half, and a wide open look for Gross. Good rebound from
But sometimes you're wide open for a reason. He's now 1 for 11 on the season shooting 3.
He's just getting warmed up. That's what he's going to tell his coach. Swatted by Tark. Sending that shot from Gasson to the baseline.
This is a situation. Gasson is behind the basket. We mentioned this is a very physical, athletic Coppin State team, and Tark showing you right there that there's a lot of aspects to his game.
Anthony Tark has been very active. His younger brother Nenda has not taken a shot yet. That'd be cool for the Tark family when last week Anthony was named the MEAC Player of the Week and Nenda was named the MEAC Freshman of the Week. Combined for over 50 points to win over UNC Greensboro. Going for the steal. Anthony Tark didn't get it.
Got it that time.
Yes, he did.
Well, he just didn't give up. He went for the steal and got himself right back into play.
I mean, he has literally filled up every line in the stat sheet right now. And just another missed field goal to him. He's got an assist, a steal, a block, a rebound, a foul, and a turnover. He's done everything. Aline, not this time.
I think if you're Virginia Tech, you want to be careful. You don't want to get in a running up and down affair. I think you ought to try to probe inside a little bit before you launch that 3.
A big part of that is giving them the chance to set up their defense at this end of the floor, like they did so often against Brad Brownell's Tigers. Tark fires and finds nothing but net.
Now, Tark comes in as a 27% three-point shooter, but they are not deterred by misses. They'll keep launching, and if they start to fall, that spells trouble for the Hokies.
So Anthony Tark has 7. So does Keve Aluma. Here's Hunter Couture. And that's money. He can be really smooth from beyond the arc.
Now, that was a nice rhythm shot. A couple of passes, forced the defense to move around. Couture moved to an open area. Caught the ball in rhythm.
Inside and a slam for Kobe Thomas. Mike Young not pleased to give up a bucket that easy. Under 8 minutes to play in this first half. Jalen Cone steps back, finds himself open, and knocks it in.
As you mentioned, Evan, they really would like Jalen Cone to get rolling here. Had some injury problems early in the season. If they can get him back firing threes, then they'll be very, very comfortable.
Think about the impact he made several times last year off the bench. Game changer. And Couture fouls Tark. And that's number 2 on Hunter. And it gets us to a timeout. Well, Hokies missed their first 6 threes. They've made 4 of their last 6 to build up an 8-point lead.
Only from Verizon.
ACC Basketball is brought to you by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. We resolve to help North Carolina stay healthy. By your local Ford dealers. And by Husqvarna. All-Star Lawns start with Automore. Welcome back to Castle Coliseum, 22-14 with Virginia Tech in front of Coppin State. And as I mentioned, going to break, the Hokies started 0 for 6. They've made 4 of their last 6.
Most of those last 6 have been off plays like this, where the ball has moved. It just hasn't been first guy down the court shoots. They've gotten some offensive rebounds. The defense has had to move around, and they've had some open opportunities. The one thing that I would say, Evan, is at this point in the game, the Hokies are on pace to shoot more than 30 threes, and they haven't done that this year.
No.
And so you play the game that's in front of you, but I'm not sure that Mike Young would be entirely pleased with the fact that of his team's 20 field goal attempts so far, 12 of them have come from beyond the arc.
Do you think it's the Coppin defense that has affected their play at the offense?
I don't think there's any question about that. This is a solid defensive team that make it very difficult for you to run your stuff.
Anthony throws it to his brother, and it's Nendetark, the freshman from Maryland, who knocks in the 3. Just like that, Eagles back within 5. Tyrese Radford, who picked up a couple early fouls, has returned to the game. And Mutz got hip checked. That's a foul on Anthony Tark.
Oh, that's a guy they can't afford to lose.
Just the first on, no, it's number 2 on Anthony Tark. Excuse me. And last year, Dan, Virginia Tech attempted 28 threes a game. This year, that number is way down. Conversely, they're getting the free throw line a lot. And I think that's a byproduct of their personnel and also what Mike Young feels a little bit more comfortable with. Here's Aluma. Nice pivot, under control, gets his own miss. Radford keeps it alive, retreats, attacks, to Cone. Oh, that one wouldn't stay down. Nice save by Keenan Sarvan.
I think if you're Virginia Tech, you'll take those opportunities every time. Tyrese Radford is a great offensive rebounder.
He has a nose for the basketball, doesn't he?
He's just fun to watch him play.
Sure is. 10 to shoot. Nendetark on the drive, and that is number 3 on Tyrese Radford with 6:04 to go in the first half. Can't imagine we'll see him again before halftime. Although you never know.
But this is very interesting. This is a team that shoots the 3 and drives the ball to the basket. They can keep pressure on you.
And now a quick word from Works.
Works Landroid Robotic Lawnmower. Available at mylandroid.com. The future of lawn care is here.
I got to try one of those on my 30 acres.
You should. It does all the work for you. You may need to charge the battery once or twice during the process. 30 acres. You have land that you probably haven't even explored.
Tough pass. What a great job by Aluma to just keep that ball alive.
Double team's coming. And Couture is open. And that's 3 for Virginia Tech.
What we were talking about, Evan, inside out. I think if you get the ball inside and force the defense to collapse like that, Mike Young will take every shot as a three-pointer if that's the way they do it.
Assist for Aluma, who's filling up the stat sheet as well. 7 points, 4 boards, an assist and a steal. And there's a Coppin State turnover.
This is if we look at this from the top, Couture is on the left-hand side of your screen. Nobody's looking at him because everybody's in surrounding Aluma. And Aluma finds him. That's a great play.
Made that shot many times in this gym in practice. All by himself. And there's Justin Mutz knocking down just his 3rd 3 of the season. I believe he had a couple in the Villanova game. So the lead has swelled to 11. As the 3-point shots have begun to fall.
And the Hokie defense has been really solid.
Aline this time. There's another for Virginia Tech. And one Dixon has seen enough.
He's probably seen more than enough.
Virginia Tech, 7 of their last 10 from deep. after missing the first 6.
Well, they've gotten better shots, and again, this is in transition, but the defense is forced to collapse by Beatty, who drives the ball into the lane. And when you get wide open, in rhythm threes, you're going to make a pretty high percentage of them, particularly a guy like Naheem Aline.
Played a lot as a freshman, Aline did, and certainly looks strong as a sophomore. Averaged just under 9 a game last year. Shot 39% from 3. He's up over double figures, 11 a game so far this season.
Now, not only have the Hokies made 3, but they turned it over a couple of times early in the game, Evan, and they've cleaned that up recently as well.
Question for you, Dan. Who's going to be the 6th Hokie to make a 3 tonight?
I don't think it'll be Cordell Pempson.
He has not attempted one this year, but maybe today is the day. Cordell is in the game for the first time, trying to stay with the speedy Anthony Tark, and Tark now with 9 points. That was an important bucket, you think, for Coppin State.
You got to dig in defensively.
You know, this has been a more competitive start compared to the game last year between these two schools. Here's Couture. And the rebound for Nindatar. In the meeting between these two last year, Thomas absolutely runs over Couture. That's an offensive foul. A year ago, Virginia Tech opened 33-5. So the fact that this is a 12-point game, progress for the Eagles. Hokies, though, up a dozen. You can. Well, it would be 4 NCAA tournaments in a 5-year span if the Hokies can get back to the big dance in 2021. That banner, the Sweet 16 2019, went up pregame before the Hokies played Coppin State last year, which was Mike Young's first game inside Castle as the Hokies head coach. Not his first win, by the way, in Castle. He beat the Hokies back in his first year at Wofford.
And, of course, the story about Mike Young is well known. The Hokies are the team that he grew up rooting for.
Yeah. It is a mighty cool story. He played at Emory and Henry. Played for Bob Johnson.
Well, here's Coppin State trying to change the tempo of the game. They're looking to force some turnovers.
Offensive foul on Aluma. Curious to see if they look at this. When you say they're trying to change the tempo, are they trying to make the Hokies play faster?
I think they're trying to do something to change it. I don't know that they want them to play faster. They'd like him to stand around a little bit more. Mike Young is telling them that he thought that was a cylinder play. That Coppin State got too close to Aluma. And you have you're surrounded by an imaginary cylinder, and the defensive player cannot come right up and get so close to you that it's basically making contact or very close to making contact.
Well, the officials are going to take a look at it. Anthony Franklin, Jeff Pond, and Mark Schnurr are presiding over.
Well, basically, when they think there's a cylinder play, they go over there and look. And there was a foul called, and they can determine that there was a flagrant foul in there, a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2, or they can determine that there was no foul at all. But here, does he get right? Is he too close to him? I don't know that that's a cylinder play, but I don't think there's anything flagrant about that either. Oh, I think they just called it a cylinder play.
So that means it's a foul on Coppin.
That means that's correct. That's a really tough way. Not only do you get a foul, but you get a bloody head. That's a tough way to go.
I mean, Harkema was basically underneath.
Well, see, and that's what you can't do. You have to, you can't invade, to use colloquial terminology, you can't invade that offensive player's space.
Now, Kalen Harkema is a freshman from Louisville, Kentucky. he's played in just 12 minutes all season, so he finally gets into a game against an ACC opponent, and he takes a shot to the chops.
And he gets the foul.
And he takes the offensive foul, and then they turn it around. Welcome to college basketball, Kalen. So Aluma goes back to the line where he has been frequently early in the season.
Well, again, that just gives you a perfect example of Aluma's skill set. The defender got right up against him, but he didn't panic, made a good pivot, and the contact was initiated by the defensive player because he invaded his cylinder.
Keve knocks in a pair at the line. He's got 9 first-half points. Nice little pocket pass, and a foul is on Aluma, and they called the foul on him last possession, took it away, and now he officially has 1 foul.
I don't think they're going to take this one away.
It's just funny, Dan. Preseason expectations are what they are, and you could say what you want about the folks who were the experts, quote-unquote, making those preseason expectations, but I can't imagine too many preseason voters knew a whole lot about Keve Aluma and what he would mean for this Hokie team.
And that's why those preseason prognostications are taken with a grain of salt.
Or a tablespoon.
Put the uniforms on, turn the lights on, put the opponent out there, and then we'll see.
It's always fun November, December to have those early season revelations of who the difference makers can truly be. And Aluma is an all-ACC candidate. Under 3 minutes and a half. Couture to the basket. And I think that might be the 3rd foul on Anthony Tark. Now they're going to give it to Harkema. Freshman picks up a 2nd.
Now the Hokies did not move the ball in and out that time, but they whipped it around the perimeter to the point where they forced the defenders to move and create a lane, a driving lane for Couture.
Back in for the Hokies, number 15, Cole.
Couture coming off the bench, has a couple of 3-pointers already. Also a couple of assists. 1 of 2 at the line here. Now 7 points for Hunter. Sophomore from Orlando, where it is warmer today than it is here at Blacksburg.
But Couture is such a good 3-point shooter, a standstill shooter. If he can add the drive effectively to his game, that's going to make it so much more difficult.
That was a wild shot from Tark. Inside, count it, and 1. David Gasson, chance for a 3-point play.
Well, Gasson gets rewarded by Beatty for sprinting down the court. Wabisa Beatty's got his head up, he's looking, and he finds Gasson, who's run the court. That's a really nice catch as well.
One of the things about this Virginia Tech team, I feel like they've got a lot of guys that people like you, Dan Bonner, like. You know, Beatty and Radford and Aline. Which is your favorite of the guys on Virginia Tech? Who do you like the most?
Well, I'm going to go with Aluma just because I may take that back. I think that Radford is the guy who really makes him go. Aluma gives him such a big presence on the inside, but Radford is their energy guy. Radford can guard multiple positions. He's a great rebounder. So I think if I had to pick, I'd pick Radford.
Radford only playing 8 minutes in the first half because he picked up his 3rd foul with just over 6 minutes to play. First foul on Cone called right there.
Well, Cone that time went for the fake. And I think based on the way Coppin has shot the ball, I think you get out and you contest that shot, but you don't go for that fake because they have shot the 3 very poorly. 3 for 10 so far.
1-and-1 here, and the first collegiate free throw attempt for Kalen Harkema. He played 3 minutes against Drexel, 9 minutes against Georgetown, and playing his first basketball today since December 8th, a week and a half ago.
And he's played enough to already have the bandage.
Difference between 100% and 0%, that one shot. Of course, there will be more. Hensel reverses nicely. Gasson absorbs the contact. Nice ball moving to a lane. Nothing but net.
You move the ball like that, you ought to be rewarded with the 3. That's just an outstanding job by the Hokies to pass the ball.
Virginia Tech has built a 20-point lead here. This was a game that was 16-12 earlier in the half, 23-7 since then.
You draw the defense, you pass the ball. That is a great pass by Beatty to get the defense on their heels. And of course, the assist. Beatty didn't get the assist, but he would if this was hockey.
And Mike Young has to be breathing a little sigh of relief. We asked him if he was concerned about the three-point shooting of late. He had a good line. He said, I haven't been lying awake at night.
But he's got guys who can shoot it. And I think that your three-point shooting percentage is an awful lot like your overall shooting percentage. The better shots you take, the better your shooting percentage is.
Leans the first Hokie in double figures today with 11. Double figures for the 5th time in 7 ball games this year.
You know, the Hokies started a little slowly, but they used their defense to generate an awful lot of energy for themselves. You know, we were talking about how you can't be emotionally fired up before every single game, but the Hokies have come out here, and without that emotional fire to start the game, they've put together a really nice offensive performance.
8 of their last 12 from three-point range after missing their first 6 in the opening minutes. Aline takes it inside. Entry pass, though, knocked away and stolen. Harkema to the middleman. Thomas to the corner. Cardacey. Rebound Gassan.
That's the first Hokie turnover in a while.
He's got 5 in the half. And that will be number 6.
Well, Beatty that time just lost his balance. Beatty's a guy who rarely turns the ball over. Mike Young is very comfortable having the ball in that young man's hands.
102 career games for Beatty, including today. Now a grad student from Massachusetts. And we are in the final minute of the first half. And that is an offensive foul. The shot went in, but it will not count as Beatty takes the charge. And that's the 3rd foul on Harkema.
Beatty gets out there. He's outside the arc, obviously, gets his feet established, and he's standing there waiting for Harkema.
Harkema, for a guy who had no points, no rebounds, no assists, and he barely played coming into today, is pretty darn active in this first half. Unfortunately for him, it's been in the picking up fouls department. Gassan to the corner for Aline. Cardacey pulls down the miss.
The Hokies have done a very nice job getting back on defense. There haven't been a lot of open transition opportunities for Coppin State.
Oh, Keenan Sarvan chucks it in, and he had been just 3 of 24 from deep before that one hit.
And Cordell Pemser was putting a lot of pressure on him. You know, you throw enough of them up there, they're eventually going to start going in.
That's my philosophy. 5 seconds in the half, shot clock is off. Beatty to the baseline with 1. And Gassan was fouled just before the buzzer. And the official pointed to the table as if he's going to check to make sure the foul came with time left, but I'm pretty confident it did. First foul on Gross.
If it came before it went to 0, then they've got to look, and they might have to put some more time back on the clock.
It's going to be the 12th foul that the Hokies have drawn on Coppin State in this first half.
You know, when you're making threes at the rate that they're making threes, and you're getting the ball inside at a clip to draw that number of fouls, then you have very good balance in your offensive game.
Today is the penultimate non-conference game on Virginia Tech's schedule. They're set to play Longwood out of the Big South in a couple days here at Castle. And then an 8-day break. Mike Young is going to send his players home. He's a little uncomfortable about it, but believes that there's value and importance in giving players time with their families before.
The clock at the top of your screen, and when is the foul call? So they're going to put a couple of tenths of a second back up there. I think maybe 3 tenths.
Officially
4 tenths. Okay.
You were way off by a tenth.
And Juan Dixon is trying to tell Mark Schnurr that his guy was just standing there with his hands up in the air, but that was not the case. Isaiah Gross did have his hands up in the air, but he was moving underneath Gasson.
David Gasson. The Dutch freshman. His 5th and 6th free throw attempts of the season right here. Maybe some blood on Kalen Harkema for the second time. And he's going to get subbed out. Nenda Tark back in for the final 4 tenths of the half.
Now the key with .4 being up there is you can catch it and shoot it, although got to be very fast.
Oh my God!
Gasson missed them both. And the rebound to Thomas, and the first half buzzer rings here inside Castle Coliseum. A little bit of a slow start for Virginia Tech, but then the floodgates open. 8 3-pointers in the half for Mike Young's team. They led by as many as 20 heading to half. It's the Hokies 39, the Eagles 22. Back on our Toyota halftime report with Virginia Tech up 39-22. And just to let you know, yes, Mike Young did have his
Sports Southeast.
Our Toyota halftime report continues from Castle Coliseum. Small number of fans in attendance, but the ones who are here are adorable. 39-22, Virginia Tech leads Coppin State. And after missing their first 6 3-pointers, Keve Alua knocked one in, and that kind of opened the floodgates. They made 7 more after that.
Well, they got the ball inside, and once they did through the defense, they were able to move the ball very effectively around the perimeter. And this is a Virginia Tech team. Obviously, they've got some guys who can make threes, particularly when they get open opportunities. They're happy to see Jalen Cone knock one down. And even Justin Mutz got in the act. So the Hokies, they've had threes raining from everywhere.
Game summary brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. The points off turnovers has been a considerable disparity as well.
Well, the Hokies turned the ball over early 4 times, and then they just stopped. They turned it over a couple times late in the first half. But Coppin State really needs to reverse those numbers right there, 17-2 in the favor of the Hokies, and that's exactly what Mike Young and his Virginia Tech team wanted to see.
All righty, that's the story from the first 20 minutes, and we will put 20 minutes back on the clock on the other side of the break. 39-22, Hokies in front. This has been the Toyota Halftime Report.
You're looking at me in the future. Okay.
ACC Basketball is brought to you by the Fresh Market. Discover the best today. And by Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealers today. Second half about to begin, and we're going to see something a little unusual. Virginia Tech's going to have a chance to score with 20 minutes left on the second half clock, because as the first half clock expired, Juan Dixon said something to the officiating crew that earned him a technical foul. So that counts as the first team foul of the second half, and Hokies will shoot a pair.
That's because it occurred after the end of the half, Evan. So occurred after the end of the half, so Virginia Tech will shoot 2 free throws to start that before we start the half. And as you said, that will count as the first team foul against Coppin State.
Team Aline will do the honors.
And he's got 2. Comes in as an 87% free throw shooter.
I know Juan Dixon just picked up a technical, but I'm curious to ask you. You were calling some of his NCAA tournament games 18 years ago when he led the Terps to a title. What do you remember most about him as a player and that Maryland team?
Well, his competitiveness, I think, is the main memory that I have of Juan Dixon. Obviously, he could shoot the ball, but it was his competitiveness and his leadership. And that was a really talented Maryland team. Lonnie Baxter, Chris Wilcox, Steve Blake.
They were darn good. Dixon's the 17th pick in the first round of the 2002 NBA draft. Luma can't finish. Sarvan grabs the rebound after Aline made 1 of 2 at the line.
Virginia Tech defense was very solid in the first half after a little bit of a rough start in the first couple minutes, but their aggressiveness really took Coppin State out of anything they might have wanted to do.
Arkema on the drive, hit the bottom of the backboard, and then slammed it in stanchion.
Arkema's going to be black and blue.
Yes, he already is. Obviously, Maryland's no longer in the ACC. But how did them winning that championship in 2002 change your perception of that program in the national and regional context?
Well, obviously, when you win a national championship, every program doesn't get to do that. So that creates a very positive impression. Remember, Maryland in 2001 went to the Final Four. They had a lead. Well, they had a big lead against Duke and lost the game, but that was a Maryland program that was very, very strong nationally already, but it just it sealed the deal when they won the championship.
This drive by Anthony Tarek. That's a crazy Duke comeback. Was Jay Williams' finest hour as a Blue Devil, or one of his finest hours.
Well, that was a great rivalry in those days.
But I think of it in the look. Virginia wins a national title a couple years ago, and their program under Tony Bennett has certainly reached new heights. Which isn't to say that Virginia hasn't had great teams in the past, because they've had monumental, transformative players go through Charlottesville.
No, but on a year-in and year-out basis, with the exception of the Ralph Sampson, the University of Virginia wasn't really in the national championship conversation. But last couple of years under Tony Bennett, they have been. They remain so.
Nice backdoor feed, and Tark with a loud finish. Anthony Tark in double figures with 13.
A little bit more patience on offense to start the second half by Coppin State.
And another steal, and Tark hit Nate. Eagles are within 12. Trailed by as many as 20. Tark in the game against Greensboro was 11 of 13. 34 points. 15 so far today. Shot clock's at 8. Beatty kicks it. Aline sticks it.
And you know, they talked at halftime, did the Eagles, about contesting those Virginia Tech threes, but when you get that kind of drive to the basket, it's hard to get back out on the three-point shooter.
15 points now for Aline. Mott's got a piece of that.
That was an odd-looking shot in the first place.
On the drive. Wouldn't stay for Aline. Cardesi finds the rebound. A 30-footer. And he missed it by about 3 feet. And Virginia Tech is unable to control the rebound. Now, one thing I was chatting about with the voice of the Hokies, John Laser, before the game. Good to see John. One of the dynamics that Mike Young's looking for in a game like this is trying to see who else can play point guard on this team aside from Obi Sabiti. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's one of the reasons you play this type of game at this point in the season, because you're still trying to put together your roster. You're still trying to find who can do what. So
certainly there's uncertainty with Cartier Jota, who's for now opted out of the season, the Kansas State transfer. Mike Young seems certainly open to him potentially coming back. That's a rare turnover from Beatty.
That is some pass right there.
Yes, indeed. Sarvan lays it in after the magical throw down the floor.
That's Kobe Thomas with the assist.
Luma's pass deflected, and hey, this Coppin State defense has been disruptive. And no, an offensive foul is the call.
There's another technical foul called on the Coppin State bench.
Wow. And the Eagles could have been back within 10 with a three-point play. Instead, another tee.
Presented by your local Ford dealer.
It's a 13-point lead for Virginia Tech, and we've had more controversy. This is really a nice job by Aluma to get in position. That's clearly a charge. Now, underneath the basket on your right, you have what's called a pandemic technical foul. That is one of Coppin State's injured players. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't be there. He would be over sitting on the bench, but everybody's spread out. So he throws the towel, he loses his glasses, and his team has another technical foul.
I believe that's Justin Steers, who was a member of the MEAC All-Rookie team a couple of years ago. Now a junior, still awaiting his medical clearance to play this year.
Well, he's got that boot on, so the medical clearance isn't coming for a while. But again, he wouldn't even be there, except that they have the benches all spread out trying for social distancing, and so he was social distance from his teammate, but he didn't have enough distance from the referee.
You're saying if he did that on the sideline, there probably wouldn't have been a tee?
They probably wouldn't have noticed. He threw the towel, lost his glasses. Now, I know Coppin State feels like some calls have gone against them, but as we showed that replay, that was just an excellent defensive play by Aluma. That was clearly a charge.
Yeah, absolutely. So instead of potentially the Eagles inching within 10, Hokies back up 15 and looking for more, but Aluma gives it away. That's the sixth Hokie turnover in the second half.
That's as many as they had in the first half. And the thing that's saving them right now, I got two. Coppin State hasn't been able to take advantage.
Is that deflected? Yes. 13 on the shot clock for Virginia Tech. Jalen Cones coming back into the ball game.
And you were asking before, who might be the guy to step in and play point guard when Wabisa Beatty needs a rest, and Jalen Cone is the obvious candidate.
They give it to Couture. Want Cone to be more of a shooter, and that's why.
That's a great pass by Couture.
Just like that, back to an 18-point game. Cone's second three of the day.
Boy, what a turnaround that charging foul.
Really felt like Coppin was gaining momentum. Cardacey hands it off the back to him.
How many times have we seen that today? That's got to be at least 5 shots that have gone bouncing off the backboard for Coppin State.
Haven't broken the backboard yet, which is good news. But they are on the bricks.
They are not afraid. I'm really impressed with their physical strength, with their athleticism. They can get after you defensively.
Nice pass.
And that time they hit the board intentionally. Nice bank shot there by
Sakikis from Lithuania. Played high school ball in Hagerstown, Maryland, where he scored over 1,600 points. Must lets it fly.
Now, he made one of those in the first half, but I'm not sure that that's really the shot the Hokies want him to take.
Some confusion over this out-of-bounds call, and it will stay with the Eagles. I beg your pardon, with the Hokies.
Now, Juan Dixon needs to be careful. He's already had one technical foul called. He could be an early night for him.
And he came to Virginia Tech as a player, presumably. He's got a couple favorite spots in town he wants to check out before they head back up to Baltimore. Looking back door, and was hit by Thomas.
There's another technical foul.
Anthony Franklin assessed the technical there on Kobe Thomas. That was a little quick. He was a little frustrated, but I don't know.
Well, you don't know what he said.
No.
Also, a technical foul is going to assess against number 10, Kobe Thomas. That is his third and fourth foul.
His third and fourth personals in that sequence. And Radford goes to the line this time. And the Hokies are leaving some points on the table at the free throw line today. 8 of 14 right now. Improved a bit as Radford gets his first point of the game, Dan Bonner.
Now, he's just struggled with foul trouble the entire game. He had a really good game against Clemson, particularly down the stretch against the Tigers. But I think that tells you why Virginia Tech has had the start that they've gotten off to so far this year. Is they've got some depth. They don't have to rely on one or two guys.
It's a great point. And it's funny because we think of Landers Nolly as being so important to this team a year ago. They lose him. You wonder how are they going to replace that offense? And they've replaced it with a bevy of different contributors. Beatty is not going to be a big-time scorer, but between Alim, Aluma, Radford, Mutz, Couture, and then they want to add Jalen Cohn into the mix, too.
That's a great defensive play by Couture.
Radford doing what he does in the offensive glass. How does he get so many rebounds being 6'1" or 6'2"?
Well, he just does such a tremendous job getting position, and obviously he jumps very well. But this is a guy at his size. He comes in averaging 5 rebounds a game, third leading rebounder on the team. He just attacks. That's why he is such a good rebounder. He just attacks. He's got a sense for where the ball is going, and he goes after it.
I don't know if you noticed this, Dan, but a year ago, Radford was listed at 6'1". Now he's listed at 6'2". So maybe it's the hair, maybe he's grown, maybe it's the shoes, or maybe it's media relations.
Well, maybe he wants to be 6'2".
I would like to be 6'2" as well. It's never going to happen. Tyrese.
Well, if you can rebound the ball offensively like he can, they would make you 6'2" as well.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen either. 9-2 run for the Hokies to stretch the lead back to 20, matching the largest of the game. And bounce pass whipped across the end line.
Well, Tark had the right idea, but I think Sarvan was surprised in there. It wasn't a particularly well-executed pass. Sarvan was open.
14th turnover for Coppin. And Radford becomes the 6th member of the Hokies to knock down a three-pointer tonight.
And that's not the strength of Radford's game, but he can make one if you leave him that wide open.
And you were right. It was not Pencil who would make the sixth guy to make a three. It was Radford.
Boy, what a play by Radford right there. He gets screened, and nonetheless, he's able to reach back and knock the ball away. I've been impressed with the Hokies defensively tonight. Obviously, they haven't been perfect, but nobody ever is. But they've really done a nice job pressuring Coppin State.
In the passing lane again there, and Cohn to the basket. The bench wanted a stuff. He's got a grin on his face.
Well, Cohn kept looking back at Mutz. They were running together, and I think Cohn considered passing it to Mutz. But in that situation, Cohn was very wise to keep it. You don't want to risk the pass.
Tark got a piece of the three ball, but Tark on the second effort lays it in, giving him now 17 points.
Boy, he can score.
He scored half of Coppin State's offensive output. Cohn with a hand in his face, draws the foul, and hits the three. Chance for a 4-point play for the sophomore Jalen Cohn.
One of the things that the officials are emphasizing is you got to give the guy room to come down. You can't move underneath him, and so that's exactly what Harkema did. And that's what, 4 fouls on Harkema?
Indeed. 4 fouls in 12 minutes. Cohn rattles it in to complete the 4-point play. And the Hokies have stretched the lead to 27. A year ago when these two teams met, Virginia Tech prevailed by 32. As Couture fouls the younger Tark brother, Nenda. When you look at Virginia Tech's last 2 ball games, Penn State shows up, blitzes them. They respond against Clemson. Which one of those Hokie teams is the real Hokie team?
Well, Evan, I think that sometimes people get really tied up in the fact that a team loses the game. They say, well, they didn't play well or something like that. I think you got to tip your hat to Penn State. Sometimes the other team comes in and they're just better than you are that night. And so I think that the Virginia Tech team that we're seeing tonight that we saw against Clemson, that's much more likely the team you're going to see. But if they play somebody who's really hot, they could have another tough game. You know, nobody expected them to go undefeated, and they're not going to.
Mutt stepped on the sideline. And that's right, they're not undefeated. Only 3 ACC teams are, but they are undefeated in ACC play, 1-0 after the win over Clemson on Tuesday. Well, not too long ago, the score was 43-30, and Coppin State had a 3-point play opportunity to get within 10. They called it a charge instead of a bucket, and things have gone Virginia Tech's way ever since.
Well, there was some turnovers and things were rolling, and Kyle Alumo got back and got in position, and injured player over there throws the towel. The referee sees him. So what could have been a 3-point play for Coppin turns into no points and a technical foul, and suddenly the Hokies are rolling again. They've stuck at 3 the last couple of trips down the court. And Kobe Thomas, who was the guy that was charged with that charging foul, he's the guy who comes in averaging 11 points a game. He's only got 2 points today, got 4 fouls. So the fact that Thomas has not really been productive has really been a problem for Coppin State.
Sure has.
I think the size of Virginia Tech has bothered him a little bit. Thomas is a very athletic player, but he's only 6'6", 190 pounds.
In and out for Cardacci.
And I think going against Aluma and Mutz and Pimsel on the inside has been a little bit much for Kobe Thomas.
So the run is 18-4 over the last 4.5 minutes. And while the Hokies have a season high in made threes, got 12 of them so far. Knocked out of bounds, it'll stay with Virginia Tech. As I said, continue their December homestand with Longwood on Monday. And then 8 days after that, returning to ACC play with the Miami Hurricanes. Maddox off the bench, arrives with a bang and knocks down the 3.
That's his first field goal attempt of the year.
Oak Hill Academy. Maddox from Bowie, Maryland originally, and pretty good defense there from Maddox. He got a lot of ball, but also some arm perhaps, and the foul goes on the freshman from Bowie, the 6'5" Darius Maddox. Mentioned that Miami team. I'm starting to feel for Jim Larinaga a little bit, because I got such respect for him as a coach, and the number of times he's had to go into a game with 6 scholarship players, 7 scholarship players, it's bewildering.
Well, you know, the last couple of years for that Miami program, if it wasn't for bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all.
Right.
They've had one injury after another.
And if they can get Chris Likes back, they can be a strong ACC foe. I believe that. I mean, Isaiah Wong scored 25 today, and they're winning against Jacksonville. Harlan Beverly's a pretty good player. Go back to Maddox on the other side. And the same result for the freshman. Back-to-back threes for Darius Maddox.
Great opportunity for Mike Young to give Maddox some playing time. Maddox very highly thought of as a recruit.
Going line here in the second half against Coppin State. And the question will be, can he do it going forward against conference competition? Mutt swats it. Sarban's deep prayer won't be answered, and Cone able to save it to Mutz.
Hokies just doing a great job reacting to the basketball.
They are an instinctive team. Take the personality of their coach, but that's a bad pass from Maddox. Thomas! I guess that's freshman. You give and you take.
Just an excellent play by Kobe Thomas, anticipating that pass. And we've said Coppin State is a very good defensive team. They can cause problems.
Maddox looking for an assist to Cone. Buries it.
And the three-point attempts that Virginia Tech has made, their first 6, they were sort of too hurried, I thought. There wasn't enough ball movement. But since then, they've gotten great opportunities for 3 and made a very high percentage.
Hokies 7 of 8 from 3 in the second half. They're 15 of 27 for the game. And remember, they started 0 for 6. So 15 of their last 21. 71% in that span. It's amazing to watch Jalen Cone shoot. He gets up to like the height of the rim on his release.
He has looked very smooth. He was only 1 for 5 in the first half.
Right.
But he's come on here in the second half.
Good ball denial by Beatty.
But when you get that three-pointer in transition or off pretty good ball movement, particularly after you've made the defense move around a little bit, and you can find an open in-rhythm shot, this is a Virginia Tech team that can clearly knock it. Easy.
Beatty, Aluma, Gasson, Cone, and Joe Bamaseal. Offensive foul called on Gasson for the clear out on the block.
Bamaseal, another highly regarded recruit, getting an opportunity to play today.
I was wondering if we'd see him today. His teammates have raved about him in practice. Gasson, Cone, and on the glass, Bamaseal puts it back up and in.
That 3 by Cone was a little bit of a heat check there. That was the kind of 3 they took early in the game.
And Beatty got a little arm there, I believe. Yeah, they called it on Wabisa.
You know, when Tark has the ball, it's going to be hard to take it from him. You can just look at him. He is a big, strong young man.
Scored 26 points a game at Gaithersburg High School 6 years ago. Had very few college offers. Originally committed to a D2 school, but went to prep school in New Jersey, then to NJIT, ace on all freshmen, transferred to UTEP, and now at Coppin State, and the three-point barrage continues for Virginia Tech. Aluma with his second trifecta of the day. Puts him in double figures for the 6th time this year in 7 games. Extra pass to Cardacci. Pretty good closeout by Gasson, and a loud follow that Thomas couldn't finish. BC just turned it over.
He threw it to the wrong place. Bamisil was open on the other side.
The 4th turnover for Beatty. Not too often he has 4 turnovers in a game. And Anthony Tark's going to get back to the free throw line. But first, we'll get ourselves a timeout with 7:52 to play. Hokies on their way to a 6-1 record.
Right now in your mouth stuffers. Happy holidays to your mouth. Not sorry. Reese's.
Hokies in control, 75-38 with 7:52 remaining here inside Castle Coliseum. And after a slow start, Virginia Tech has shot better from 3 than from 2 today, Dan.
Well, they have made more than twice as many threes as they have twos. They've gotten good looks at the basket. They've moved the ball very effectively. Mike Young, we talked to him earlier today, and he was talking about how pleased he is with the balance of his team. That, you know, they averaged 28 three-point attempts last year, and he said he certainly didn't want to do that. He'd be satisfied with 20 or 21. That's really where he wanted to stay. But when the ball's going in the basket like that, we said earlier, you know, you have to be able to play the game that's in front of you. And Coppin State has been trying to clog back inside and prevent Virginia Tech from scoring at the basket. They've given up a lot of three-point opportunities, and the Hokies have knocked them down.
Coppin State, an ugly 4 of 13 from the free throw line, too. Make it 4 of 14 now.
Well, they've had a tough day shooting the ball. They're 4 for 21 from 3. They're only shooting 35% overall, and as you mentioned, 33% from beyond the line.
Here's Beatty. He would have been the 7th different Hokie to make, beg your pardon, he would have been the 8th different Hokie to make a 3 in the game. A couple bounces on the iron. It wasn't friendly. Ball will stay with Coppin State.
For Coppin State, though, you know, we've talked about they haven't shot the ball well from anywhere on the court. But even if they had, I don't know that there's anything you can do against a team that's going to make 16 threes, and we still have 7.5 minutes left to go in the game.
Virginia Tech made 21 threes against Delaware State last year in a blowout win here at the Coliseum. Nice drive, and there's the first collegiate bucket for Kalen Harkema, who adds a positive memory into his first ever game against an ACC opponent.
Well, Harkema's gotten bounced around a little bit, but you have to say about that kid, he is not afraid. He sticks his nose in there constantly.
Couture sticking his nose in himself, and he gets 2.
And that's what we talked about with Couture a little earlier in the game. He's such a good three-point shooter. If he can take the ball and attack the basket like that, that's going to open up some opportunities for him from 3.
And now, just like Tuesday against Clemson, the Hokies have 4 in double figures. Couture now with 11. Harkema feeling it. Not that time. Numbers. Couture up high for Mutz. Finish for Mutz, and an offensive foul for Kobe Thomas.
And that's it for Thomas.
Yes, indeed. Thomas picks up his 5th personal and departs.
Couture has done such a nice job today. That's 5 assists for him in the game, and the Hokie big men have also run the court very effectively.
Well, if you've watched Mike Young's team going back the last couple of decades in Wofford, his teams always play with a purpose. At the offensive end in particular. They attack, they have a plan, they know what they want to do. And as we're seeing from his Hokies, they can succeed in a number of different ways. Today it's the 3-point line, but on Tuesday it was getting to the free throw line. Kevin Giltner was wide open, but fortunately he didn't have a jersey on. So he could make that shot.
But Gaston is very lucky that he didn't get called for another one of those hooking fouls.
What do you think Mike Young most wants to see in these final 6 minutes?
Well, he wants to see his guys continue to play hard. You don't want to take your foot off the gas. And I think you'd like to see some, you know, what Bamisil can do, what Maddox can do. I think it's an opportunity. Couture is running the point. He mentioned that he'd like to find somebody to help out Wabisa Beatty at the point, and maybe Couture can handle that job. We mentioned Couture has 5 assists on the game. That's what a move that is. So what does Mike Young want to see? That's the kind of thing Mike Young wants to see.
A high-flying double clutch finish at the rim by the freshman. Might be even more so about what the freshmen do at this end of the floor, though. Bamasil bumps Kyle Cardacci.
That's just a really nice move to the basket. He hung up in the air, too, let the defenders go by.
Remember, he didn't play his senior year of high school because of a broken tibia in his left leg. So Bamasil really hasn't played basketball in a couple of years. Free throw woes continue for Coppin State. Meanwhile, the Hokies lead by 40. That's a good shot. Jalen Cone now with 4 threes in the game.
How many times have we seen that? You get the ball in the lane, you draw the defense, you kick it out for a 3, and the Hokies have been knocking them all down.
And I should correct myself. I just took a 3 away from Cone. He's got 5, 18 points. Isaiah Gross, too strong. I'll tell you, if you just turned on your TV and you see the score, this game was far more competitive for the first 20, 25 minutes or so than this score appears right now. 17 3-pointers for Virginia Tech have blown it open, including 9 here in the second half.
Well, but the defensive effort by Virginia Tech has been very good, obviously. There's 41 points scored against them. There's 4 minutes, 22 seconds left in the game. This is a team, Coppin State, that scored 71 points against Duke, 69 points against George Washington, and 86 points against UNC Greensboro. But they just simply have not been able to shoot the ball at all today. They've missed a high percentage of their free throws. They haven't made very many threes, and they shoot a lot of threes. And Virginia Tech's size on the inside has really bothered them.
Bamasil tosses one up and buries it.
Wow.
Not exactly in the flow of the offense, but if you don't hit the rim and it goes through, Mike Young will take it. 18 threes now and counting. I didn't think we could get to 21, but who knows? That's 8 different Hokies who have made a 3-pointer in the ball game. And the Hokies lead is 45 with 3:45 left.
DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet on any team open tonight and double your money if they cover the 75-point spread. That's how you slay the holidays. DraftKings. Make it rain.
87-42, Virginia Tech in control. And Dan Bonner, you were saying during the break that it wasn't that long ago Coppin State almost got within 10 on a little offensive run. The charge block call could have gone the other way, and it was a charge. The officials got it right, but then a technical, another technical. The floodgates open on Juan Dixon's team the wrong way.
And Virginia Tech has just been unconscious from beyond the 3-point arc.
Consider this, in their last 4 games, Virginia Tech had made 23s. They've got 18 with 3:45 left in this one game. They're 20 of 81 in their last 4. And we'll get ourselves another quick timeout. 87-44, Virginia Tech with Longwood on Monday, Miami after Christmas. It's time for CPI Security, protecting the paint. Often this is about blocks, but today we're talking charges. The defense of the Hokies have had some game-changing defensive plays by just getting in the way.
Well, and it's one of the things we talked about Virginia Tech's defense, and one of the things they've done very well is prevent a team like Coppin State that really likes to drive the ball from using that particular weapon in their arsenal.
Keve Aluma, one of 4 Hokies in double figures. He's got 12. Aline's got 15. Kapoor with 11. And Jalen Cone with 18 off the bench, including 5 3-pointers. That pass through Bamaseal's hands and out of bounds. That's the Hokies' 18th turnover. So Coppin State, Dan, turned Duke over 22 times. Now they've turned Virginia Tech over 18 times.
But 18 threes have a way for covering that up.
Also.
No shot, no shot, 2 shots.
Before the shot, there's a foul. And guy, Kalen Harkerman from Louisville, will get a chance to redeem himself from the free throw line. He missed his first collegiate free throw attempt earlier tonight. Now he's missed his first 2.
8 for 21 from the free throw line.
Something to be desired. Percentage does not improve that trip. Another good look, and 3 more for Aline.
Again, it started. That time it was Gasson driving the ball into the teeth of that defense, drawing defenders, kicking it out.
Coppin State answers. But goodness, the Hokies with 19 threes, 11 of them here in the second half, 11 for 15 since halftime. Trying to keep it going. Why not? 20 triples for the Hokies. That's as many threes as they had in their last 4 games combined. And Mike Young is calling for the walk-ons. Grant Yates and Gil Williamson, welcome to the game.
And with the COVID spacing, those guys were actually up in the stands. Yeah. So it'd be a better story if they call them out of the stands under normal circumstances, but
I wonder if those guys will hit a 3.
Why not?
Up ahead to Bamaseal, and up and under, he'll get fouled. So Virginia Tech's going to be 6-1. The Longwood Lancers, coached by Griff Aldrich, who was on the staff at UMBC when the Retrievers beat Virginia. So that's who the Hokies will be dealing with next. And Longwood finished last year strong in the Big South. So I imagine that'll be a tougher test than Coppin State has been for the Hokies today.
But I think, Evan, that you have to say that Coppin State could have been a much, much tougher test. But Virginia Tech just played very well.
20 of 35 from 3.
The game is very difficult if the ball simply won't go in the basket, and it hasn't for Coppin State. 4 for 24 from beyond the arc, 8 for 22 from the free throw line. It's just hard to win games like that.
Against anybody.
Particularly against the team that makes 23s.
Hokies bench just erupted as Gil Williamson said, "Get that out of here." Williamson, a freshman from Richmond, out of the St. Christopher's School. Got some size, 6'8".
Yeah, big kid.
They kick it? No. Isaiah Gross is going to get free throws here. I think I get the foul on Gasson, the rebound action.
Well, Isaiah Gross is about 6'4". They list him at 6'4", 210 pounds, and
he's sturdy.
Well, but he mixes it up inside. He's not a perimeter guy at all. He mixes it up inside. Looks like he got poked in the eye or something. But he's a tough kid. They need to figure out how to get him to the free throw line a little bit more. He's 4 out of 5 from the line.
Tomorrow, Notre Dame, Clemson women's basketball on your regional sports network. 3 p.m. for the Irish and the Tigers. Chance for Notre Dame to get a little revenge after what happened today in Charlotte. Hassan's going to get to the line here. Coppin State's next game, Dan, 4 days from now against Iona and Rick Pitino, our old ACC friend.
Well, probably Rick won't be playing many minutes in that game.
No, I don't think so.
If we're going to have the coaches play minutes, I'm taking one Dixon.
That I would pay to see it. Pitino versus Dixon in a game of one-on-one.
You can see after the first of the year, Coppin State starts their MEAC schedule with back-to-back games against Delaware State, and that's what a lot of conferences are doing.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned the Longwood Lancers coming in here to play on Monday. Well, they started their schedule by playing back-to-back games against Radford. They went to Radford. They played 2 games in 2 nights, and unfortunately for the Lancers, they lost the first one by 1 point, then suffered a double-digit loss in the second one. But that's what a lot of the smaller conferences are doing. To try to navigate through this pandemic.
You just shake your head thinking about all the protocols and everything that players, coaches, fans, broadcast crews are dealing with to make this season happen. Vanderseal missed it. That would have been the 21st 3. They had 21 threes against Delaware State last year. Maddox can't finish.
1 minute to play.
Nenda Tark, pulling a china shop, gets to the rim and will get to the line. And I think Hassan just picked up his 5th foul. So the Dutch freshman is done.
Take your time. Take your time.
Second half for the Hokies, 35.
Cordell Pemsel presumably will play the final 53.7 seconds. I'm really curious where this Virginia Tech team is going to slot in when it comes to ACC play. Because, look, I think there's a consensus at the top of the league is down a little bit. You can beat the best teams in the league. But I think the middle of this conference is very deep. And there's going to be a lot of either-or type games on that schedule coming up.
Well, I think that's really true, although I would say that based on what I've seen so far, that Florida State team is going to take an awful lot of beating. That is a really, really good basket.
They look like the class of the league right now on December 19th, but there's a lot of time between now and March. Bill Williamson gets a field goal attempt, but nothing more. There's a 3 for Isaiah Gross. The first of the second half after the Eagles had missed their first 13 threes since halftime. And once the ball crosses midcourt, the Hokies don't need to shoot. Mike Young had his pregame popcorn. He got a lot of guys some action. He got Jalen Cone going, 18 points. Naheem Aline had 18. The Hokies, as a team, made 20 three-point field goals, and they win it 97-57 over Coppin State. Dan Bonner, your final thought as the Hokies have one more before Christmas.
It's hard to imagine that Virginia Tech started out a little slowly in this game, but a very impressive defensive effort, and when you make 23s, you're going to be hard to beat.
4 double figures for the Hokies. Cone and Aline with 18 apiece. Aluma with 12. Couture with 11. And the Hokies win it by 40. Dan Bonner, a pleasure being back with you, my friend. For Dan Bonner, I'm Evan Lepler saying so long from Castle Coliseum. 97-57 is your final. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern on most of these same regional sports networks. ACC Women's Basketball, Notre Dame and Clemson. Thanks so much for being with us. We say good night from Blacksburg.